in terms of the platform, obviously ServiceNow is little, mature, enterprise grade. We were looking for a platform that has a good development environment, like Atlassian Forge, where we can build a solid enterprise grade apps. In that scenario, we didn't see much of a difference between the Now platform offered by ServiceNow versus Atlassian Forge.
That's a common pain point I actually see with a lot of clients that I work with in the IT HR space, where they have equipment, where they're shipping out devices. They need the tracking and ability for some automation in there, which probably helps their workflow quite a bit. I have Prabhu here with me, joining me today. I'm really excited about this because I've actually worked with their team to develop an app that they have on the Atlassian marketplace, onLink and OnRamp, and maybe some others as well that you might mention. But it's great to have you on.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, I'd love to, I guess, hear first from you, maybe how you got into the Atlassian space, what got you into the Atlassian world.
Sure. Atlassian, we got introduced to it when we were evaluating the platform for our app. So we had the idea in the nascent stages, and we wanted to test the waters. And we were very clear on building HR service management solution. And we looked at the usual candidates, ServiceNow, Freshworks, and Atlassian. And we did a pilot for about a few months to see how we can not only build the product, but also take it to market and get a good wide distribution. So combination of Atlassian Forge, Atlassian Marketplace, and a good widespread adoption of apps already established in the marketplace are some of the criteria that impressed us to continue to build up.
Okay. What motivated you to build an HR solution? And does that kind of align with maybe some of your background? Or do you have like an HR background at some point in your work history?
Yes, so my co-founder Girish Reddy used to work at Workday. It's a
Mm,
HR organization. And most of the use cases or the pain points stemmed from our own experiences, in our previous organization, where we couldn't find a good SMB type of an app that can cater to where it not only have a task list or an issue management, but also automation, integration that can have organization get started off with. So we saw on the lower end where it is a issue or like a simple checklist or a task management. And on the higher end, you have all the features. So there was nothing in between. And that was the entry point for us, like where we wanted to build the solution.
Okay. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the products that you currently have on the marketplace. I know OnLink and OnRamp are two of them. What's the use case for them, and who are they for?
Exactly. The apps that we have in the Atlassian marketplace is for HR primarily as the focus, and the IT team that enable the HR organization. So those are our primary customer or the target users. And our apps are simple, lightweight to get started off with, and that's the reason that we have a couple of applications. The first one is OnRamp. It's a employee onboarding, offboarding solution with native integrations to common HR systems. So, for example, a use case for a customer could be is, hey, connect to my HR system, could be Workday, BambooHR, ADP, etc., and kick off a series of tasks for onboarding or offboarding. and it is a HR event. So it could be for like transfers, relocations, contract to full-time hire, interns to full-time hire, like any type of significant HR event that requires a collection of tasks to be executed. OnRamp is a good fit for it. It has a task management, it has integrations to it, and triggering events to set it. Next, we have OnLink. OnLink, think of it as a integration tool specifically for HR systems. So what we have done is we've categorized it into three broad areas. HR systems. So we have about 30 integrations where OnLink can connect to the common HR systems. We have it from cloud-based like Workday to BambooHR to SAP SuccessFactors, ADP, and cover from the SMB to enterprise spectrum. The second category is the applicant tracking systems. So customers who have a need, they want to have integration to recruitment or applicant tracking systems as well. Like say, hey, pull the candidates where I've just sent the offer and I've accepted it. Update the job posting when the offer is accepted. So we have integrations to Greenhouse, Smart Recruiters, applicant tracking systems. We have it in that category. The last one is the uh, identity management providers. So we have Okta, we have Jump Cloud, we have Entra, Azure AD Directory, and this week we introduced Ping Identity as one of the identity management. And the idea is we want to extend that automation where when a new hire happens, I want to pull the new hire information and create a user in Active Directory or assign a group or a role in an identity provider system. That simplifies HR to continue the onboarding process and not get bogged down by what I call high value but low value tasks. We have other integrations as well, like to FedEx for automating shipping labels, etc. And all in all, we have about 50 systems our applications integrate.
Yeah, that's actually a really cool use case. I haven't heard of the one that integrates with FedEx. That's a common pain point I actually see with a lot of clients that I work with in the IT HR space, where they have equipment, where they're shipping out devices. They need the tracking and ability for some automation in there, which probably helps their workflow quite a bit. That's a really cool use case.
Exactly. What we also do is we synchronize all HR data to assets in JSM. Whether like common employee data, departments, job codes, category, office locations, anything from HR, synchronize it with assets. And now you can run, reports using the query language of assets. Like for example, for warranty expiry, certification expiry, these type like where, somebody is terminated, but the laptop is not returned, makes that IT asset management much simpler.
Yeah, and one of the things that I actually was super excited about when initially kind of working with your team, helping to develop the product, was the integration with Workday, with Bamboo, with the other third-party softwares, because that's actually a gap that I've noticed existed for quite a while, where my typical suggestion would actually just to be, hey, let's just bring your team over to Jira, let's just bring them over to Atlassian Suite. Oftentimes, that wasn't a solution that they can implement, unfortunately. So the only other solution was either manual processes or building out super complex API automations between the two platforms. So OnLink and OnRamp are really great for kind of bridging that gap to where you can still have your HR team in their HR platform. They could be in Bamboo, they could be in Workday, and then you could have your IT team, your dev teams in Jira, and the two apps can pretty much stay in sync at all times. Really cool. Once you get an onboarding request from the Bamboo HR or Workday that automatically creates that request for you in Jira. So I think that was actually one of the best use cases for those tools, and it's one I've been recommending to pretty much everyone that I've come across so far that has a similar use case.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that, the field team and people like you who are in the field, like, on the front side, seeing these type of use cases. Because we felt that Jira Service Management and Jira Work Management, the entire enterprise is using that platform. It's not just IT anymore. Finance is using for their finance service management, legal, marketing, HR, where it becomes easy, where it's all in one place. Tomorrow, if we want to do some auditing or compliance or any type of review, you have everything in that in one platform, in terms of new hires, who provided the approval for the access, when was the access revoked, what type of group permissions were added. Much easier because it's all in one place and the data doesn't go out of that environment.
Yeah, that's a great point. I actually haven't really even given it much thought in terms of the auditing perspective, but that's a really great point as well. I'm curious to see if you maybe have any insight on some of the biggest gaps within the HR processes or workflows. And I know that you've kind of solved some of those with your apps, but are there any others that you see or you're potentially solving for in the near future?
Sure. If we look at HR, right? Like the service management is, specific. Like, hey, this particular new hire, is joining, complete the onboarding process. Or, in terms of, promotion, expanded access, and vice versa as well. Those all are clear events that require an issue or a ticket and that needs to be worked on. But however, HR also has a lot of self-service or information based, like the ubiquitous example of what's my parental leave policy, or is what's my PTO policy, or when will be my laptop get upgraded, etc. Right? All these have in the past typical FAQs or Confluence pages where people can go search and get the information retrieved or relevant information. What we are excited about is how can we make this more contextual, relevant, and easy information sharing using virtual agents or chat based. Atlassian Rovo, which was introduced in the Team 24, is something we are excited about, where that particular agent will have the Forge plugin. So essentially, our app that is more of UI driven and with the traditional type of a user experience, we can completely transform that to be a conversational agent. Where since that's platform, now I can ask for, hey, what's my parental leave policy, or I would like to change my insurance or change my benefits, and the system can walk through all the steps, collect all the information required, and say, hey, I've created a ticket for you to follow up on, or HR will follow up on your ticket. We see that as a great use case that will simplify the data collection and also providing that self-service to internal users.
Oh, that's a great use case. Very similar to what help desk would be from a customer perspective when there's just very common, very easy to answer questions that a virtual agent can pretty much just assist with. And that's something that Jira kind of does have built in, but I could definitely see a benefit of having that API integration with Workday, with BambooHR, and then with Jira as well, and then providing those answers via the portal and no interaction needed from an actual agent themselves. So that's a very cool use case. I'm actually really excited to see how that'll work. And I know Rovo's still like in the very early stages. I was super excited when it was announced, but I would definitely look forward to seeing that once you have it launched, and I'd love to test it out.
Exactly. Looking forward to it as well.
What are your thoughts on like the Atlassian ecosystem and platform? I know that you've Like you mentioned, you recently chose it to implement your applications, your HR systems on. Um, what are your thoughts around like maybe its competitors like ServiceNow? Why didn't you go with the others versus Atlassian?
In terms of the platform, obviously ServiceNow is little, mature, enterprise grade. We were looking for a platform that has a good development environment, Atlassian Forge, where we can build a solid enterprise grade apps. In that scenario, we didn't see much of a difference between the Now platform offered by ServiceNow versus Atlassian Forge. The second is we wanted to have the app um, can be deployed with not too much of customization or a configuration, or meaning in the sense we want it to be lightweight, where, like, say, for example, you look at the app, search, okay, this is something meets my requirements, and can get started without too much support required. And in that scenario, Atlassian Marketplace stood out for us in terms of searching, listing, and it is high volume. When we spoke with a variety of customers and as well as practitioners like you, they felt very comfortable using Atlassian Marketplace, meaning they trust the source, they have transacted with it, and it is an environment where people look up, search, if the use case meets their requirements, they move forward with it, which is very important for us because that's the growth engine we were looking for, where if the app is good and we are able to communicate the value, we want the users to install it in their instance and get started. We didn't see this level of user adoption in other platforms that we evaluated. And the
Mhm.
last, obviously, given the nature of our use cases, we were looking for a strong a development environment with API integration capabilities. For example, Workday is more of SOAP and XML, whereas BambooHR or other systems is more of JSON. So we needed a robust API supported, or meaning quick to develop that integrations. And again, Forge stood out.
I'm curious if you noticed maybe any gaps from your perspective or problems, issues with the Atlassian environment, not necessarily even from a development perspective, but say from like an enterprise service management perspective.
Right. Like any other platform, there are challenges and limitations. And in terms of Forge, even though it's been there for a while, it's still, in our opinion, probably uh, wave one of their adoption and maturity level. We do see benefits in terms of a little bit expanded capabilities on storage, concurrent executions, a little bit more event based, event triggered design patterns, that will help us in our development, etc. But again, the support from the Atlassian team is phenomenal. Like, whenever we have a, product issue or a limitation, the communication is great. Like, they don't see us as these guys are new and a year old. Uh, they listen, which is, comforting for us, is because we feel that excitement to build more apps into the marketplace.
Mhm. Do you have anything that you particularly wish that Atlassian would implement? Like if you were to snap your fingers and tomorrow it would exist on the Atlassian platform, what would that be?
In terms of the feature set, right? If we look at Atlassian has variety of flavors, like for example Jira Service Management, Confluence, etc. So, for example, if we were for us to build a Forge app, we need to, specifically tell this is for Jira Service Management, this is for Confluence. And for example, I want to build an app, but it touches both. For example, from a HR perspective, I could have my HR policies on a Confluence, set of pages, and I can have my issue management in Jira Service Management, right? When I move from very simple apps to a little bit more solution-centric apps, it will cut across multiple products. Whereas, for example, today I build an app, I have to specifically tell this is for Jira or Jira Cloud, etc., or Confluence. When I build a solution and that touches multiple products, today there is not that type of opportunity or ability to build it, and that would be one of our wish list.
Yeah, that kind of leads me to my next point, which is what is one of the most innovative or one of the most impactful things that you've seen Atlassian do in the recent past couple of months or past year?
The Forge UI kit, making that standardized is phenomenal. Meaning, for example, when you look at our app, or for that matter, any type of Forge app that partners have built, the UI and the consistency and the standardization will almost resemble the standard Jira UI or a JSM UI. And that's because of the Forge UI kit, where Atlassian has done enough. I think it's a heavy investment on their part to make that all documented with proper libraries and kits for partners like us to build. And that gives a good user experience for customers, because they don't see a partner app whereas the platform has two different UIs, and that standardization gives us good seamless user experience, where when you go from a Jira issue to our app and back to the Jira, the standard workflows, the UI and the user experience is consistent.
Speaking of like IT or HR, Sam, integrating with Workday, Bamboo, clearly that's kind of your angle with your applications. What's maybe one or two things that you would say that every company would be able to benefit from if they implemented those one or two things within their organization?
If we look at a very simple use case, right, like onboarding and offboarding, and when somebody is hired, I want to make sure that I give the user access, email created, and no mistakes there. Like in the say, as simple as email getting misspelled, or hey, I didn't know that this employee was supposed to start today, so we forgot to create the user access. Simple things like makes a huge experience for someone joining new, can be avoided. Similarly, the termination side of it, where hey, somebody is terminated and we need to shut off terminate access 5 p.m. On the local users time zone, right? We don't want to have someone wait till that 5 p.m. to terminate access, or the worst scenario is we miss to terminate access, right? And those workflows can be automated using our app.
Mm. Yeah, that's great. I've actually noticed that, particularly with terminations, it seems to be a recurring thing with even a lot of enterprise organizations, surprisingly, where it feels like it's something that's kind of built, but it's never a good, strong, robust system that is something that they can rely on. So that's great. That's something that you developed that is actually actively helping those companies. As I dive into more and work with OnLink and OnRamp more, I'll definitely need to explore that functionality as well.
Excellent. We introduced a feature called task conditions, where you can set these conditions, like where terminate access by certain termination date. Similarly, like for example, a new hire has accepted the offer, but is not joining, let's say 30 days from now, right? But I want to get the onboarding process started, but I want to have the laptop ordered 7 days before the start date of the employee, and maybe like only 3 days before the start date, I want to create the email and the identity provider permissions, right? I can set that type of conditions, where even though the new hire is 30 days out, I can create all the onboarding tasks and set those task conditions and due dates, and the system will invoke and execute those tasks based on that condition.
Great implementation. I don't think I've actually had a chance to use that feature, so that's something I'll have to look into as well. All right, Prabhu, thank you so much for joining us. If anyone's interested in OnLink, OnRamp, how do they go to be able to use your two softwares?
Excellent. Simple Atlassian marketplace. That's the one-stop shop for our app procurement. Simple to use. Get started. We do offer a free trial. For the basic trial and evaluation. And our app is free for up to 10 users. Organizations can get started quickly, try our app, evaluate it, and we have our support team on standby. And if there are any questions, they can engage with our team.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for jumping on. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. I'll definitely have to explore the app more, and I definitely encourage everyone else to try it out if they have a similar use case or functionality.
Likewise, Josh, I enjoyed the conversation with you.